So here is how I thrift flipped this dress into this gorgeous two-piece set.
I just can't get over how gorgeous this fabric is. But yeah, so this is how it looks like without the lining, but the lining is attached. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna seam rip it apart. Just it could be optional, but yeah.
And I've already cut off the bottom portion of the dress. Now I'm gonna flip my fabrics inside out to have the ugly side facing us. I cut the fabric to be 13 inches long, and I'm gonna make the waist about 13.5 inches wide. The bottom is about 17 inches wide. Using white chalk, I just connected the waist from the bottom and did a slight curve down like so. I'm just deepening the line, and of course, I'll link all the tools I used down below. Now we are going to sew along the white lines, and I'm gonna be using a twin needle for this with these settings. When using a twin needle, do not backstitch. Instead, leave a lot of thread out so when you're done sewing, you can tie the end of the tail like so. Usually one thread is on the opposite end, so I just bring them together like this, so it's easier to tie them all together. Once the thread has been cut and you try it on the skirt,
So this is how it's looking so far, and are you freaking kidding me? I absolutely love it.
it's time to cut off the excess. I'm cutting off the excess fabric on the sides as well, and lastly, it's time to sew the seams top and bottom. My bottom seams are already sewed, so I'm just gonna focus on the seams in the waist area. I did the double roll method and still used the twin needle. Halfway through, my twin needle broke, so I had to take a slight break and buy a new one, but I bought 5 just in case. Okay, now my seams are officially done, and that completes my skirt. The next part, however, is completely optional. I'm gonna add grip strips to the top and bottom of my skirt to keep it from riding up. I just cut 4 strips like this and apply them to where I want them, and here is how I sew on the grip strip. The piece of paper keeps the grippy part of the strip from getting caught on the metal plate of the machine, and I just sew both sides with my twin needle using the same settings as before. Now that my strips have been sewed on, now I'm officially done with the mini skirt.
So I was playing over the leftover fabric, and then I thought, what if I add straps to make like a whole like drape top situation? But then look at the back. Oh my gosh, it's like a whole drape situation. That with like the matching skirt is gonna be like, oh, I love it. I'm gonna do it.
So I safety pinned the straps in place, and now I'm going to hand sew it. This is how it's looking like, and since the fabric is naturally see-through, I'm gonna get scrap fabric to double layer the chest area. I just sewed the ugly side of the scrap fabric onto this black inner lining, so when you flip it over, it looks like this. Now I'm gonna insert this onto my chest area. I only hand sewed the tips like so, since I want to preserve the cowl neck structure of the top. I also created a thin strap and added buttons to each side so it can clip onto my waist area of my top. I did this so my top can be more fitted to my shape, but I also want it to be optional, that's why I opted for the buttons. And finally, I sewed a strip of beads all along the bottom of my top. I did this by aligning the pretty side of the seam onto the strip, then folding it towards me, so we are now working with the ugly side of the fabric. I'm hand sewing it in place using this method so the stitch won't show too much on the pretty side of the fabric. Once done, I cut the strip leaving a little tail so I can double roll it and sew it down to create a neat finish. Now that my seam is finally done, here is everything all together. Last but definitely not least, I created a beaded back piece from 2 thrifted necklaces. I bought some gold rings and clips from Joann's to shift it all in place, and this is how it's looking like. And this is everything all together, and I just love it so much. And the back is my absolute favorite part. Just look at it with the beaded trim and everything. I feel like I outdid myself with this one. But of course, I made it to where I could wear it 2 different ways. Here it is with just the halter neck. I wanted the beaded back piece to be removable so I can wear it with other different outfits as well. But here it is in all its glory. I feel like keeping it stored on a hanger definitely prevents it from tangling like crazy. I forgot to mention this, but definitely apply clear coat nail polish onto the gold clips to prevent it from tarnishing. I forgot to do that, but nonetheless, it's still going strong, and this is me saying this after I traveled with it and wore it about 3 times already. To put it on does take a lot of delicate movements and slight confusion, and you may not be able to tell because the necklaces are similar in color, but I am focusing on one of the necklaces and putting that one on my back like a backpack. That way the second necklace is just focused on draping down my back like so, and that's how I put on my beaded back piece. As for the alternative look, I just grabbed the halter neck strings that are attached to the top and tie it onto my beaded necklaces. I tie it onto a chunky bead so that way my string won't slip down and will be secured in place. So if you're thinking of doing a back piece, I recommend looking for either one with chunky beads like this, or maybe a chain you can lace the string through so it is super secured. Once done, I just simply tuck the leftover string into my top, and there you have it, a unique sequins 2-piece set. Okay, open it. Open the door. Go look.
Me encanta.
I did for the trip. Stay. But yeah, very much it. You like it?
Hija, eso me encantó.
Gracias.
Todo. ¿Y eso a dónde te lo vas a poner?
Allá.
¿Para dónde? ¿Para la foto?
Sí. Para las fotos.
Todo está hermoso, hija.
Gracias.
Voy a brincar la foto. So pretty, right?
Thank you.